So, good morning, everybody. So let's start with visualizing the merit field, doing our chanting, trying to focus on the meaning of the words that we're saying, generating that kind of feeling or attitude in our own mind. Yeah. And remember that we're surrounded by all the living beings. We may say, oh, I don't see them. Thank goodness, there's a little bit of space around me. But surrounding doesn't mean they have to be right next to you, It's wherever we go in this planet, even though we think we're alone, we're still surrounded by living beings because we live on the same planet or we live in the same universe. Yeah. So we hear that we need to be secluded, and we think secluded is physical seclusion and go away, don't talk to anybody. And it's useful to keep silence, when you're in retreat. But even when you're keeping silence, to remember, you're still surrounded by all sentient beings. They still exist, and you still depend on them, and they still depend on you. Yeah. And it's impossible to go anywhere where we're not surrounded by sentient beings. Yeah. Anyway, do you really want to be with yourself all the time? When you've done some practice, then, you're fun to be around yourself. But if you haven't practiced, then you're just with this old crabby person who's complaining all the time. It's like, shut up already. No, this is all I know how to do. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of our self-centeredness arises when it comes to caring for the body, making sure the body has enough pleasant feelings and gets rid of all the unpleasant feelings. But if we look in our world, yes, caring for our body is one object of it, Our body's one object of attachment. But feelings, yeah, because we always hear people say, my feelings were hurt. Yeah, somebody hurt my feelings. And very often, it's these hurt feelings that really get us very tied up. Somebody hurt my feelings. I don't want to be with them. I don't want to talk to them. They are an awful person. I'm never going to forgive them. On and on and on. But what are these feelings that get hurt? And just sit there for a minute. Think of a time your feelings were hurt. Maybe somebody said you were ugly or stupid or whatever it is. And what are these feelings that got hurt? Are they feelings that are floating around in the air and then somebody hit them so they're hurt? What is it that got hurt? very difficult to locate feelings that are getting hurt. So what is really going on? What is really the step-by-step process in our mind that is actually going on when we say, my feelings are hurt? When we start to examine it more closely, the phrase that we often say so much, they hurt my feelings, begins to not fit very well. Who's the they, and what are the feelings? And what does it mean to hurt feelings? And did they hurt my feelings, or am I all set up for any small thing to be interpreted as an attack? So this kind of questioning makes it apparent why self-centeredness is our enemy. Because self-centeredness, self-grasping, they're the two things that lie behind all of this. So all the tears that we've shed about our feelings being hurt, they're just more songs and dances by the self-centered mind that make us miserable. And so when we really understand this deeply, then the idea of relinquishing the self-centeredness and cherishing others becomes much more desirable to do like that. Much more realistic, much more beneficial. And so with that, let's open our heart to others. The doors to opening our heart may be a bit creaky, may take some pressure to open them, but not a harmful pressure, just the feeling when you have to get into a room and the door is stuck. So here we need to get out of the room of our own self-centeredness. And that door is stuck, so we need to nudge it. We need to see that when the door to our heart opens, we can still feel safe and we'll probably feel even safer. And so with that kind of thought, let's generate bodhicitta. That isn't just compassion for others, but it's taking that step to do something about it. So have you ever asked yourself before what you really mean when you say my feelings are hurt? How many people say my feelings are hurt from time to time? Yeah? What's really going on? Are our feelings kind of sitting out there and then somebody's words go like that? You know, oh, my hurt feelings. Yeah. Yeah, what are these hurt feelings? Where are they? What are they? Yeah. When you pause, it's like, huh? Yet it seems so real, doesn't it? Yeah, my feelings are hurt, and they hurt my feelings. Yeah. They did it. Yeah. My innocent feelings. Yeah. They went, but what's going on? Yeah. So when you start to scratch the surface, what does that phrase mean? My feelings got hurt. You know, what's really going on that makes me say that? Now, I don't know about you, but when I scratch the surface of that, what's really happening is I have expectations of how other people should treat me. I have an image of who I am in different social contexts and how the people around me in those social contexts should treat me. Yeah. And they're expected to know how to treat me. And they're expected to not want it to hurt my feelings. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, other people shouldn't go around hurting other people's feelings, should they? So, you know, these people, I have expectations how they should treat me. And, you know, they should not hurt my feelings. And then, oh my God, what's happening? You know, it's like their words are like, you know, going like this. But what's the punching bag? Who set up the punching bag of those feelings that are getting hurt? I did. I did. Because I know how other people should treat me. And they should know how they should treat me also. And they should treat me that way. Okay? And if they don't, I have two, you know, then if they don't, my feelings are hurt. How do I act when my feelings are hurt? Well, I usually have two alternatives. Okay. One is I sit and cry. You know, maybe literally cry, maybe just sit and feel sorry for myself. The other one, the other choice, is I get angry. And I let them know that they hurt my feelings and they should not do that. And maybe I try and hurt their feelings as an act of kindness, so they'll know what it feels like when your feelings get hurt. Yeah. Okay. It's quite interesting, isn't it? No? So stop whenever you feel like your feelings are hurt and look what is actually going on. Yeah. And when you do, it's like the whole thing evaporates. Huh? Do you think so? Or maybe not. Yeah, maybe you like having hurt feelings. Yeah, because when our feelings are hurt, then it really means we exist. Yeah. And our ultimate thing is we want to exist. So anything we have to do to exist, even if it's sitting there with hurt feelings and being miserable, it convinces us that our self-grasping and our self-centeredness are right. You know, I'm there. So, yeah. So try that sometimes. Mm-hmm. And we find, all those expectations of how other people should treat us, that we never realized we had before. Until all of a sudden our feelings are hurt. Yeah. They don't respect me. What in the world does that mean? Yeah. I want them to respect me. What? How do I know other people respect me? What are they supposed to do? Yeah. Well, they're supposed to grovel up on their stomach, make 3 prostrations, make an offering, tell me how wonderful I am, and then volunteer to do anything I want them to do. Yeah, that means they respect me. Think about it. Do you want to live in a world where people treat you like that? Yeah. I think, I want to be a big shot. I want people to respect me. But then imagine everybody around you starts groveling and bowing to you and wanting to do things for you. Yeah. And all you want to do is take a walk and be quiet. But all these people respect you. Yeah. What are you really wanting? Okay. So when you get bored and you don't know what to do, think about these things. Yeah? They're good things to think about. What do I really mean when I say certain things? And here it's what I say to myself too. My feelings are hurt. I'm saying to myself, okay, what do I really mean? Okay. Then another thing, because we've been talking a lot, and the future verses will get into how we relate to our body a lot, and the equalizing self and others and exchanging self and others, very much, changing the identity. And a lot of that has to do with our body. Okay. And to lessen this mind that says, this body is mine, or it is me. Okay. It's interesting. We can't make up our mind what the body is in relationship to us. That when you think about it, it feels like, yeah, I know. But if I really know, how come I sometimes say my leg hurts, and other times I say I hurt when I'm referring to the same thing. But those are two different things. I hurt and my leg hurts. Those are two different things, aren't they? So am I relating to my leg as if it's me? Or am I relating to my leg as if it's my possession? Another interesting one to think about. You look at your robe and, this is my robe. Okay, I don't say this is me. Although it's interesting, if somebody, it's holy time in India now, when they throw colors on you. So if somebody threw the colors on me and it got all over my robe, I would say they threw the color at me. Yeah, and all of a sudden my robe becomes me. But usually my robe is not me. It's my robe. But they threw the colors. Actually, they threw the colors at my robe. No, they didn't. They threw it at me. Well, it didn't hit me if me means my body. It hit my robe. Oh, but my robe is me, so it did hit me. It's interesting how we think of things, and it just shows the confusion in our mind. But more than that, it shows how things are designated, and how we solidify the things that we designated. Yeah, we forget that we're the ones who designate them, and then we solidify them. Mm-hmm. Okay, then another thing I wanted to clear up from last time, about how those verses are to be, how they're to be read. Because I usually read it. Yeah. Okay, if we look at verse 95, when both myself and others are similar in that we wish to be happy, what is so special about me? Why do I strive for my happiness alone? So I think actually Shantideva is writing that, and we're to read it in the thing of, oh yeah, what is so special about me? Absolutely nothing. So so why do I strive for my own happiness? That's ridiculous. I need to stop that. But last week when I went over this verse, I took the what is so special about me? Why do I strive for my happiness alone? And instead of being the good student who's listening to the words, I was the naughty child who said, I'll tell you what's so special about me, and I'll tell you why I strive for my own happiness alone. Okay, so Shantideva may not have been writing it to be read that way. I'm supposed to read that and see that my way of thinking is wrong. But so often when we hear good advice, we react with it, with refuting it and telling people why that's unreasonable and why we can't do it. So that's the role that I was playing in that verse. What's so special about me? Well, I'll tell you. Let me tell you what's so special about me. First of all, I'm me, and that alone is special. And you should be very happy I am in your universe, because I am so kind and I am so generous and blah, 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 blah. So that is what is special for me and why other people should, pay homage. Not just respect me. They should pay homage to me. You juice it up a little bit, okay? Because sometimes, that's the way our self-centeredness acts, isn't it? It's like this little kid. Yeah, remember when you got disciplined and one of your parents would say, why in the world did you do that? And you want to tell them, but you know, if you value your life, you better not. But here, they're not there. So you can tell them why you did that and how what you did was wrong and blah. I mean, how you did was right and it was really good. No, 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 no. Okay. So I think it's sometimes helpful to see how our self-centeredness wants to refute the wisdom teachings that we're receiving. Yeah. So I think it's sometimes it's good to read things in different ways. Yeah. Yeah. Because I know when I first started studying this text years ago, I would read something like that and it's like, oh yeah, what is so special about me? Gee, nobody, why should I strive for my happiness alone? Nobody ever asked me that question before. Yeah. Did anybody ever ask you that question? What's so special, so special about me? Why do I strive for my own happiness? I never thought about that before. Why? Why? Because I'm me. And everybody does that for their own eye. So I do. And also, what is that? If I don't stick up for how does that slogan go? If I don't take care of myself, who will? There's a couple of other lines in there too. I can't remember. Does anybody remember that? But, if you think about, oh, well, yeah, if I don't take care of myself, nobody else will. And that's the big catastrophe in the world if nobody else takes care of me. Yeah. And if I don't take care of myself, then, oh my God, because that's what the whole purpose of being alive every day. I mean, what do we think about when we wake up in the morning? How to take care of ourselves and feed ourselves and make ourselves happy. And God, it takes so much effort, doesn't it? It takes a lot of effort to take care of this body. Yeah. It takes a lot of effort to take care of our feelings. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Everything you do every day to take care of this body. Yeah. You have to get it out of bed in the morning. Okay. So we all have our little rituals in the morning, don't we? That we do every single morning. And most of them are about the body, aren't they? Yeah. You get up, maybe you remember to do your 3 prostrations when you first get up. That's about the body, but it's also stretching the mind a little bit. Yeah. But then everything else is about the body. Yeah, you got to pee, you got to, it's cold in the room when you get up, so you need to heat the room up, then you need to drink something, then you need to eat something, then you need to get this body from here to the meditation hall, and it's icy, so I need to put cleats on my shoes, and I need, I need what is it you got me? The trail? Walking sticks. I need to protect this body so that I don't slip, and then, get yourself in the meditation hall. And again, with the body, my body is tracking in snow. Other people won't like it. They'll say something that hurts my feelings. So I better take my shoes off and get the snow off so that they don't say that. My feelings don't get hurt. And I mean, all day long, if you think, what would it be like to just not be so attached to this body and whether it feels happy or not happy? And what would it feel like to not be so attached to my feelings? So people could say anything to me. Just imagine, what would that feel like? People could say absolutely anything to you, and you're going to be okay with it. Yeah. So I know people online, they're shaking a little bit here because now, the big thing is watch what you say to other people. Yeah. There's a whole movement to to get rid of certain words and certain phrases. Yeah. I heard that Stanford University there was a group of people that decided, to kind of make a dictionary of words that should no longer be used because they're racist. Yeah. Huh? Or racist or well, they come to the same thing. Are you sensitive about race? Because it sounds pejorative. Anyway, so get rid of those words. So then somebody was saying the word field was one of those words because field implies slavery. Yeah. So if you don't want to insult anybody, yeah, then you say that the Chicago Cubs are playing in Wrigley Meadow. You can't say Wrigley Field because field connotes slavery. The word watermelon, I didn't know that watermelon was a word that, set people off. But it does. It becomes a racist word because watermelon goes to the stereotype of slaves who sat in the field eating watermelon instead of working and the juice going all over. So there's all these words that, we don't realize that other groups are sensitive about. Okay? But you're expected to know those, and we expect other people to know the words that we're sensitive about and not say them. Okay? And, when you think about that, it takes so much energy to monitor whatever other people say to see if they're putting me down or if it's racist or prejudiced in some way or another. It really takes a lot of energy because I'm not hearing the meaning of what they're saying. I'm reacting to the sounds and assuming that there's racism or condescension or something else I don't like behind it. But even if there is racism or condescension or whatever, why do I need to react to that? Okay. Now, I know this is pushing a lot of people's buttons. I acknowledge that. But think about it, And this is, I've already told you the thing, how in 7th grade, Peter Armetta, when we were talking about current events in Israel came up and he said, why don't you go back to where you came from? And I ran out of my 7th grade Mr. Reese's classroom and spent the rest of the day crying in the bathroom because my feelings were hurt. Yeah, I was being, there was prejudice aimed at me and my feelings were hurt. And what I realized, I really have to thank Peter Armetta for doing that. I made this vow at that time in 7th grade, never to speak to him again. And I've kept that vow, much better than I've kept my other vows. Yeah, I really want to find him someday and apologize. But, and we were in the same classes. This was 7th grade, all through high school. We even went to a special program at USC together. All that years, I never spoke to him because he's racist. He's anti-Semitic, and it was taken out on me. Okay. So I spent a few years, in that mindset. Yeah. And then I said, because once you get in that mindset, you start seeing it everywhere. Yeah. And then my parents started telling me stories and this and that. And oh, yeah, my dad would get beat up when he was a kid. The Polish Catholic kids would beat up the Jewish kids. And one time they applied to join a country club and they got refused because they were Jewish. And then, my brother, who's doctor, one of the patients said, I would much rather have a Christian doctor. I don't want you to take care of me. And so once you start doing that, then you see it everywhere. Okay. And so somewhere in high school, I don't know where, but I decided I do not want to have an identity of persecution. I do not want to filter everything that happens in my life through the eyes of persecution, And let me tell you, the Jews really have it on persecution. Nobody else has it. 4,000 years. Come on, it was like started with the Pharaoh. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're coming up to Passover. We get to watch Saturday night Seder. Oh, good. Yeah. So everybody needs to come because you'll see in that, Yeah, those of you who have seen, you see the anti-Semitism because Jews make fun of themselves. Yeah, but they also know very well what happens, and it's woven. That whole holiday, every Jewish holiday, is they tried to kill us. We won. Let's eat. But they tried to kill us. And you live your life through that. And I decided somewhere in high school, I am not going to live my life like that. Yeah. Okay. So that's a big example, of, how somebody in a minority might feel. But even if you're in a majority culture, okay, yeah, even you go to Israel and there's Jews all around and you're wondering if the cats and dogs are also Jewish because where you grew up, there were no other Jews. The cats and dogs, everybody here is Jewish. Oh my God. Yeah, it's really weird. The cats. Yeah. Are you Jewish? Meow. Yeah. Give me matzo ball soup. I'll eat it. Yeah. But you begin to see like how you construct things in your mind of us and them. And, you set up the whole stage for getting hurt. Yeah. And it becomes part of your culture, part of who you are. Yeah. The people who are anti-Semitic, I'll give them a clue. If you really want to get rid of the Jews, you can't stand them. The best way to do that is let them assimilate. Because the moment with any group you persecute them, they come together. And they hold on to their identity even stronger. Okay. Remember after 9/11? Yeah. So many of the things where Americans didn't get along, everybody forgot about them. Shoop. We're Americans. The Congress said, what did they do? They sang one of those songs that we learned in grammar school. I don't know, My Country, 'Tis of Thee, or America the Beautiful, which was written by somebody who was Jewish, but most of them don't know that. And I should tell you everything else that Jews wrote, all these songs and, that people love. They don't give any credit. Okay, so you just watch how you can so easily, and this is all conception in the mind. It's all conception. Yeah. So this makes learning low rig really helpful. Yeah. Because low rig, did we ever think about the difference between direct perception and conception? Did we ever think that so much of our suffering comes from the conceptual mind? No, we were taught in school to develop our conceptual ability. And there is a very good use for our conceptual ability. If you're going to realize emptiness, you need that. Okay, you don't just say emptiness and go blank-minded. You have to refute the object of negation, and that's a conceptual mind. Okay, but we usually use our conceptual mind just to create, more and more suffering for ourselves. Yeah, and then we confuse, what is reality with what we think it is. And this happens at all sorts of levels. Okay, so, yeah. So, if it sounds like I'm off on some wing of something, oh, there she goes again. But, but actually, this is all relating to the self-centered thought. Because what is the self-centered thought all about? Yeah. And what is the attachment to self all about? And what is grasping at true existence all about? It's all about misconceiving things and thinking that conception is reality. Yeah. Okay. Then, finally, halfway through the talk, I'm getting through a question. I'm getting to a question of somebody asked. So this is the question in short. This is the question in long. Developing the heart of bodhicitta out of the two aspirations in order to relieve the suffering of others and to attain Buddhahood. How can we keep aspiration number one, relieving the suffering of others, foremost in our mind, and not let self-centeredness make our quote, quote, bodhicitta really just about me? Okay. So then they said, thinking more about Shantideva does not, about why Shantideva does not refer to the kindness of sentient beings, I think it has something to do with getting the I out of the picture, to do away with self-references, like people are kind to me. Okay. And so they're saying, oh, yeah, especially if you say people were my mother, that's referencing me. Even if I say in the equalizing, exchanging self and others, it's still referencing me. They were kind to me because they built the road or whatever. Okay. So this person thinks we should get me just out of the picture totally. Okay. I don't agree. Okay. First of all, there's two aspirations. Bodhicitta is a primary mind with two aspirations. Okay. Is one aspiration more important than the other? Yeah. If we want to get the I out of the picture and have some way of thinking of sentient beings as kind, without referencing I, it seems to me that this person thinks that that's the foremost aspiration, that the other aspiration to attain Buddhahood isn't as important for bodhicitta. Actually, I don't agree with that. I don't think Shantideva would either. And I don't think Chanakirti or Nagarjuna or Buddha. See, they're all the people who are right are on my side. Yeah. So, because, yeah, even people who don't follow the Bodhisattva path have compassion for other people. So we can't say that the compassion aspect of bodhicitta is the most important, because you can have compassion for others without being a bodhisattva, without even being a Buddhist. But, the Shravakas and solitary realizers have compassion for others. And it's important to remember, compassion is not the same as bodhicitta. Having compassion does not mean you're a bodhisattva. Okay, lots of people have compassion, thank goodness. Yeah, and we should encourage that. But just being a kind person, we tend to say when somebody's nice to me, oh, you saved some extra broccoli for me. Thank you so much. You must be a bodhisattva. That's not the proper use of the word bodhisattva. Otherwise, in the monasteries, they would go around giving out broccoli. Yeah. And everybody would be bodhisattvas. Okay. So it is important, that to cherish others, to think about the feelings of others. My philosophy is, if it works as a good strategy to help you think about the kindness of others, I'm not going to knock it. Okay, so according to Atisha and company, thinking that all sentient beings have been our mother and have been kind to us as our mother, even that self-referencing, it works to open our heart for the first step. It doesn't get us all the way to bodhicitta, but it opens our heart on the first step of seeing that there's other people who have feelings and other people, and that we are dependent on the kindness of other people. It opens our eyes to that, which so often our eyes are closed to that. Yeah, people do things for us. They're just fulfilling what they're expected to do. Remember all the things that they have to do so that my feelings don't get hurt? Well, they're just doing all those things. Yeah, so that's fine. There's nothing glorious about that. Yeah. So, yeah, because everybody should serve me. Then when we flip it, I should serve everybody else. It's like, huh? Yeah. But we don't even recognize the help we receive from others. Yeah. When we sit down to eat lunch, our first thing, is thinking about the causes and conditions and the kindness of others. I actually added that phrase. It isn't in the original Chinese. But think of the kindness of others by which we have this food. Do we really think about that? Yeah. When we go for lunch, do we think about, some people spent all morning chopping vegetables and, cooking those noodles that yeah, cooking those noodles, cooking concrete. To think that other people go out of their way to do things and I benefit it, Yeah. So very often the self-referencing is what gets us to open our eyes to see, okay, the noodles may not be the way I like them, but somebody spent their precious human life cooking those noodles, for my benefit. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, somebody else put their life energy towards that. So, so I don't think the self-referencing should be totally abandoned because it's it can get us going. So that, was Atisha's way of doing it. Yeah, Shantideva's way is just seeing by whatever people do in society, we're reaping benefit. That's self-referencing, but it works, doesn't it? Yeah. It's not that self-referencing increases our self-centeredness. It opens our eyes to the kindness of others. Okay, so I don't think we need to get rid of it unless you say, oh, well, they cook those noodles for me and nobody else but me. So I'm going to eat all of them. And because I'm special, go to verse 95. I told you why I was special already. Yeah. Okay. No, if we did that, yes, that would be too much. But just recognizing the interdependence is actually quite good, isn't it? Okay. Now, who has the hurt feeling? Who cooked the noodles yesterday? Okay. Are your feelings hurt? Yeah. I thought so. Now look, isn't that interesting? Somebody is commenting on the noodles. They are not saying a word about us. They're commenting on the noodles, and our feelings are hurt. All of a sudden, the I has expanded into the pot of noodles. The I is sitting in the pot of noodles. So if somebody says these noodles weren't cooked enough, oh, that means I'm undercooked too. So we look at how interesting it is. The noodles aren't cooked enough. Okay, goes to the noodles are bad. That's the first step. Okay, does not being cooked enough, is that equal to bad? If you took out the dictionary and looked up uncooked, is the definition bad? No. Okay, so that was the first mistake. Then, yeah, this is the mistake in our thinking. Yeah, uncooked means bad. Then, who didn't cook them enough? I. Well, if undercooked means bad, then I'm also bad because I'm the one who didn't cook them enough. Okay? I'm the one who never cooked them, didn't cook them enough. Every time I make, so first it's about I'm bad because the noodles. Yeah. Then it's, every time I cook lunch, somebody complains about something. So now it's not just I'm bad, but I am really bad because every time I cook, somebody doesn't like what I cooked. Okay. So, and then it goes from there to, I am bad through and through. I am no good at anything. I am bad and everybody hates me. Nobody loves me. Think I'll eat some worms. We go directly to that. And it just started out with the noodles are undercooked. Yeah. But from that, we go, and then it doesn't just stop with that meal. It's like every time you need to cook, it's like, I don't want to cook. Yeah, I don't want to cook. I didn't sign up. I don't care if you didn't sign up. You got to cook. No, no, nobody likes my cooking anyway. I'm not going to sign up, you know. I am not going to sign up. Because if I cook, it means I'm bad. And those people, you know, if they think I'm bad, I must be bad. Yeah, because what everybody else thinks about me is right. So if they think I'm bad, I am bad. Right? Yeah, isn't that true? Yeah, very true. Very true. And if I'm bad, that won't do. It's too small. I need this one. Yeah. Because if I'm bad, I'm going to cry. Okay. Now, how much of your precious human life do you spend supporting the Kleenex industry by crying? You know, you become one of the chief people that keep what? Shareholders. Yeah. You should buy, you should buy shares in the Kleenex company because you support them. Yeah. And we're off and running, aren't we? So, you know, my feelings got hurt today, so that means I'm going to be in a bad mood for the next week. Yeah? So you better tiptoe, get your eggshells out because they're, you know, actually you don't need to get your eggshells out. I have mine all over the place. And you got to tiptoe all around my eggshells. Okay? So that you don't hurt my feelings anymore. Okay. Maybe we should get back to this. No, but I think the thing is, if self-referencing, you know, whatever we do to loosen this incredible hold that we have on I'm the only one who exists almost, or other people exist to serve me, anything, you know, that will loosen that is helpful, isn't it? Yeah. And so there, if you want to, then instead of seeing the whole world telling you you're bad, you begin to see people's kindness. Yeah. And everywhere you look, you see kindness. Yeah. And, okay, we're approaching spring. We are approaching the time. You can hear it in the air when the turkeys are trying to figure out who's going to the prom with who. You know, because they got a couple up, you know, prom is coming, so you better ask your date. And so they're going to start pecking on the windows and everything like that comes in the spring. Okay. So we know after deciding, you know, who goes to who with the prom, then what happens later? Little chicks. Okay. So, you know, all the turkeys must be from Florida where they don't allow both birth control. So, you know. So we have all the little chicks. Watch how Mama Turkey takes care of her babies. Yeah. Just watch. And the kindness, you know, that Mama Turkey has for her babies, and sometimes for other people's babies. You know, if one Mama Turkey gets hurt, or, you know, she's just overwhelmed by little chicks, you know, they team together and they help each other. Yeah. Nobody taught them to do that. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Just kind of automatically reaching out and helping others. When I taught at Cloud Mountain, it's a retreat center on the other side of the state, some of you will remember that they had peacocks. Okay. There was one year where the peahen sat on those eggs and they didn't hatch. And she kept sitting on them. Yeah, she kept sitting on them. Yeah, she saw, I don't know, the eggs were defective in some way. Yeah, so they never hatched, but she kept sitting on them. Yeah. Another peahen, had her little baby, what do they call them? Pea chicks? You know? What? Okay. So, yes, chickpeas. Okay. So, and how they teach their little chicks everything. Yeah. Where to go to peck, how to peck. Yeah. They don't teach them sharing so much. Yeah. And neither do mama turkeys. Yeah. But they teach them how to look out for themselves. And, when the people wearing maroon are safe and when other people who aren't around are not safe. Yeah. Because after a while, the turkeys, they act different around us. They act different around us because they see that we're so compassionate. Oh, we give them our breadcrumbs every day after lunch. Aren't we wonderful? Okay. But just to see, if you start looking, the kindness of others. Yeah. In the winter, I looked out sometimes and I would see the deer down in the valley. Yeah. And they're waiting for Geshe-la to come out with some of the cracked corn, and they will hang out there for a long time. They know even which direction he comes from. They look in that direction. They don't look at the other directions. They're focused there. When is he going to come? And when Geshe-la comes with the cracked corn, the alfalfa. Okay. The deer are so happy. That's right. It's the turkeys that eat the crack. Deer, the alfalfa. Okay. Well, I almost got it, There were two choices and I got the wrong one. Yeah. But then Geshe-la is kind, then they act different around Geshe-la. Yeah. And we notice that the deer that hang around all summer, they aren't afraid of us. Yeah. Because they can, we give them stuff and we look kindly and they love when we sing mantra toward them, to them. They don't turn around and say, you're off key. They say, oh, this is really nice. Yeah. You want to practice your chanting? Go in the forest and chant to the turkeys and the deer. But, they see kindness. So to train our own mind to see kindness. Yeah. And, to see when people are kind towards us, to see when people are kind, or turkeys are kind to others. It kind of all boils down. And what we're doing is we're refamiliarizing our mind with the sense data that we choose to pay attention to. You'll notice through this whole section, Shantideva talks about familiarization again and again and again as being the way to, develop the thought of others' kindness, the way to develop bodhicitta. Okay. So, we familiarize ourselves with, instead of, looking at how other, holding in prime in our hand, in our mind, who I am and how other people should treat me, holding prime in our mind of looking how all living beings are depending on each other. Yeah. and how we support each other and we help each other. I mean, that building is good proof of it, isn't it? Yeah. But do we look at the building and say that is an embodiment of the kindness of others, which it is? Or do we look at the building and say, by this time they're supposed to be half done and they aren't half done and we're way behind schedule, and this building, there's no way it's going to be done and have an opening until 2024. It's just impossible this year. So there's different ways you can look at the building. Yeah. And sometimes you need to look at the building in more than one way. Yeah. But if you include the way of, we're dependent on other people building that, then, you have some element of recognizing others' kindness together with, they should work a bit faster. Yes, I know it's snowing, but still they should work faster. Yes, I know the wind is blowing when it's snowing, but if they work faster, they won't be so cold. Yeah. Okay. So maybe we should go back to the text. I mean, I have been talking about the text, yeah? Okay. So are you okay? Yeah. Okay. So we stopped at 101. Yeah. We'll do it again. Since such things as a continuum and an aggregation are false in the same way as prayer beads and an army, there is no real owner of suffering. Therefore, who has control over it? Okay. So prayer beads, you have a mala. Okay. We look at it as one thing. Actually, the mala is a whole collection of beads, isn't it? An army is a whole collection of people. So what really is the mala if when you look there, all that's really there is a pile of beads? Yeah. When your mala breaks and your beads go all over the place, and you're wondering, how am I going to collect all of them because they look just like everything else on the ground? It's a collection, and a collection is not is not the object. The designated object is not the basis of designation. Okay. Because you don't take out each bead and flick it in your fingers like this. They have to be, if the collection is widespread and they're all over the floor, you still have a collection of beads, but you don't have a mala. Okay? So what they're getting at is, his conclusion is there's no real owner of suffering. Okay. Why? When you look at what we call I, there's 5 aggregates. Okay. And when you look through and it's just a pile of aggregates, yeah, then there's no real person there. And so then who owns the suffering? Whose suffering is it? Who's the owner, the possessor of the suffering? Who's the possessor of the happiness? Because there's just a pile of aggregates. Okay. Yes, the aggregates are arranged in a certain fashion. Yeah. And they're linked together temporarily. But still, the pile of aggregates is not the person. Who owns the happiness and suffering? You can't point. Yeah. Similar with an army. Yeah, an army is just a group of individuals. Similar with a monastery. Well, again, is the monastery the building? Or is the monastery the people in the building? Which is it? Interesting question. Yeah. People say, I'm going to the monastery. Oh, monastery must be the building. Is it a specific place? They're going to that place. Yeah. Or, you need some encouragement in your practice. So you say, I'm going to the monastery. Then the monastery is the people, because you're going to get encouragement from the people, not from the building. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So there's no real owner of the suffering. If there's no owner, who has control over it? That's the thing. We feel like we should, when I said everything we do all day is to protect the body, there's the thought that I should be able to control everything that happens to my body. Okay. So I should be able to control not only who hurts my feelings, but I should be able to control my feelings. No, my feelings are not hurt. They are not hurt. They are not hurt. Really? You didn't hurt my feelings. It's completely okay. You feel like you should be able to control it. Yeah. Is there a controller of your feelings? If there is, they do a very poor job of it. Okay. 102. There being no inherent owner of suffering. Yeah, just sit with that. There's suffering, and there's nobody who owns that suffering. Yeah. Imagine that. There's suffering, but it's nobody's suffering. It gives you a whole different feeling about what's going on in society, doesn't it? There's suffering, but there's nobody who owns it. So then the question comes, why do I make such a big deal out of my suffering? But we usually say, why do other people make such a big deal about their suffering? Yeah, there's no owner to your suffering. Why are you acting like this? Just get over it. Nobody hurt your feelings. Or you go back to what your mother used to say. You're crying? Wait, I'll give you something to really cry about. Didn't your mother say that? Yeah, some of you, yeah. Your mother didn't say that? Oh. If I was crying, it's like, oh, wait, I'll give you something to really, if you want to cry, I'll give you something to cry about. Okay, I'll be good. I'll be good. But why don't you ever listen to me? No, I'll be good. Okay. Yeah, interesting, these things, these phrases that pass from, how many of you had heard that when you were a kid? Yeah. So it passes from one generation to the other. Yeah. So here you become very glad you didn't have kids, because you would be inflicting that suffering on them, saying that to them. Oh. Okay, 102. There being no inherent owner of suffering, there can be no distinction at all between that of myself and others. If nobody owns suffering, then I can't distinguish between my suffering and their suffering. Whoa. Yeah. Has that thought ever entered your mind? No. What happens if you don't distinguish my suffering from their suffering? Yeah. Then self-centered mind says, what's coming up in the future verses. So we'll save it. Yeah. But, here, let's listen to what Shantideva said. Yeah, we'll read it that way. Okay. There can be no distinction at all between that of myself and others. Thus, I shall dispel it because it hurts. Yeah. It doesn't say I shall dispel it because it's mine, or dispel it because it hurts me. It's just, I shall dispel it because it hurts. Why am I so certain that I shouldn't eliminate the suffering of others? Why? Why am I so certain? Yeah, we never question. Yeah. Why am I so certain that I shouldn't eliminate the suffering of others? It doesn't belong to anybody. So why not do something? Yeah. Well, why not? Verse 103, self-centered mind will tell you why not. But since neither the suffering nor the sufferer truly exist, why should I turn away the misery of all? Yeah, their suffering doesn't exist. There's no inherently existent person. So why should I bother with your suffering? Because none of that exists. Okay, you go over to nihilism. Okay. And you can see sometimes that it's easy. This is, I think, why they say that, it really takes a long time when you generate bodhicitta to make your bodhicitta stable. Yeah, because just getting, the path of accumulation has 3 parts. Just getting the first part, is when called the small part of the path of accumulation. That's when you generate bodhicitta, sincere bodhicitta, not contrived bodhicitta, but actual bodhicitta. But you can still lose that bodhicitta, because we have to keep familiarizing ourselves with that outlook, because otherwise we go back to, neither, oh yes, I'm a bodhisattva, I'm now meditating on emptiness, so they don't exist and their suffering doesn't exist, so why should I bother with it? Yeah, this is the crazy logic of the self-centered mind. Yeah, doesn't exist, I'm not going to bother with it. Okay. But Shantideva says, why am I so certain that I shouldn't eliminate the suffering of others? Let's skip that question. 103, then the self-centered mind, but since neither the suffering nor the suffering truly exists, why should I turn away the misery of all? There is no ground for argument, Shantideva says, for if I prevent my own suffering, surely I should prevent the suffering of all. If not, since I am just like other sentient beings, I should not prevent my own suffering either. Okay, so if I'm not going to, say, if I'm going to go to the extreme and say, well, I don't experience other suffering, why should I care about it? I don't have to remove it. Yeah. But then the question comes back, then why should I try and do away with my own suffering? Because it too doesn't exist and I don't exist. But actually, we don't really believe that. My suffering we should do away with, others' suffering. they should handle. Okay. So, yeah. So if not, I am just like, if I don't work to eliminate others' suffering, yeah, but I am just like other sentient beings. So if I don't eliminate their suffering, I shouldn't eliminate my own either. Okay? So there you're going with the part of the argument that says, there's no, well, yeah, I think that's good enough. Since I am just like other sentient beings, I should, I don't care about their suffering, so then I shouldn't care about mine either. Oh, no, that's not true. Okay. Then self-centered mind tries another argument. Okay, so here, we're really getting into how self-centered mind fights back. And it says, since this compassion will bring me misery, why should I exert myself to develop it? Yeah. When I develop compassion, I become miserable. All I do is think about the suffering in the world. And I fall into despair, and I'm miserable, and I'm depressed. So, I shouldn't think about the suffering in the world because it makes me miserable. Yeah, I have compassion fatigue. I have compassion burnout. Yeah. So, if contemplating the experience of others is like that, why should I do it? It just makes me, just makes me use more tissue, that's all. Okay. But Shantideva replies, should I contemplate the suffering of living creatures, how could the misery of compassion be more? So the first two lines are saying, if I contemplate others' misery, I have compassion, and my compassion is the source of my suffering. Now you blame it on the compassion. Okay. But then, should I contemplate the suffering of living beings, how could the misery of compassion hurt me more than the suffering of living beings hurt them? Yeah? Is that making some sense to you? Okay. So my developing compassion, is the unpleasant feeling I have from developing compassion is nothing compared to the miserable suffering feelings others have in the world. Okay. Now, there's also something to be said here. Does compassion mean that you have to feel depressed and overwhelmed afterwards? Yeah, because we assume that. Aunt Ethel is in the hospital. She's hooked up to 4 dozen machines. She looks awful. I don't want to see her because it hurts me to see Aunt Ethel like that. Okay. So why should I care about Aunt Ethel? It just makes me unhappy. Yeah. And Shantideva said, well, then don't care about yourself either. But my question is, why does seeing Aunt Ethel like that make you unhappy? Yeah. Why? Why, when some people see blood, they just freak out? Why? Yeah. Or why, when you think about, what's going on in Ukraine, do you feel upset? Or why, when you think about, various racism and prejudice and oppression throughout the world, Do we, do we always have to? What does it really mean to be compassionate? Yeah. Does it mean we suffer? Is that the indication of having actualized compassion? Is that we suffer? And we suffer so much that we become totally self-involved and we cannot do anything else for anybody else because we're depressed, we've fallen into despair, the world is hopeless, I'm just one person, I can't do anything about it. And the problem is my compassion. So I have compassion fatigue, compassion burnout. So I can't be around other people's compassion because it causes me. I can't be around other people's suffering because it causes me compassion and my compassion hurts me. So I'm just going to stay home and read Reader's Digest, Stay home and watch. I don't even know what's on TV anymore, I'm just going to stay home and watch Tucker. And Tucker doesn't make you suffer. Watching him makes me suffer. Really, when I look, what creates suffering feelings in me? It's, when I hear people talk about other people like that. Yeah. But my point is not what they're doing is causing me suffering. The point is, why do I suffer when exposed to that? Is there a way in which my self-grasping and my self-centeredness are involved that makes me suffer when I see other people suffering? I was at a conference once where I gave a talk about compassion, and Joan Halifax was also at the same conference, and we talked afterwards, and she said, because I used the expression, compassion fatigue, and she said, if somebody has compassion fatigue, I don't think they actually had compassion. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's a new one. I haven't thought about that one before. And I thought about it. And yeah, what is compassion fatigue? What assumptions lie behind compassion fatigue? Yeah. Number one assumption, well, besides the world should not be like that. Okay. Says, thus spoke Zarathustra. That was some movie. That was some movie, I can't remember. But, yeah. I spoke, there should not be any suffering. Yeah. Why do I have compassion fatigue? Because I want to stop all this suffering and I can't do it. Yeah. I should be able to stop all the suffering in the world. By my disliking it, that and my, having some feeling for others' suffering, that should give me the power to dispel the suffering. I should be able to do something and fix it. Okay. So it's again, I should be able to control everything. Yeah, I'm so important. There's a joke. Maybe your brother knows it. He's a doctor. What's the difference between, and my brother, what's the difference between God and a doctor? Okay, God knows he's not a doctor. Okay, but we have that, I should be like God and be able to fix it. And it's just overwhelming. I can't do that. So I won't do anything. I can't do anything because I'm totally immobilized. Okay? So when she said you don't really have compassion if you fall like into that kind of depression and despair, it really made me think, because if compassion is focused on the other, compassion is not focused on me. If my compassion all of a sudden becomes focused on me, such that I'm suffering, then it's personal distress. It's not compassion. So that is not a reason to criticize myself and tell myself I'm wrong and bad and all of that, that drama. Okay, we don't go there, but we just realize, oh, yeah, I can't control something, Even all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who have more compassion than I do, certainly, they can't control it. But maybe there's some small thing I can do in the situation that would just do something nice for the other person, that would bring maybe 3 seconds of their knowing that other people care about them. Maybe I can do that. I can't fix the whole problem, but I can do one small thing. Yeah. And then you don't feel like, well, I'm impotent and I'm burned out, because I can't do anything and everything's so bad and everybody's suffering. No, I'll just do what I can. Yeah. And when you do what you can, you begin to see that it actually makes a difference in people's lives. Yeah. It actually makes a difference in people's lives. Yeah. It doesn't solve all their problems, but it does make a difference. We can do something. Okay. Now the question comes in, oh, well, I'm a people pleaser, so now you just gave me free rein to do everything to please other people. Whether they want what I'm giving them or not, I'm going to please them and remove their suffering. Yeah. So the thing of benefiting others doesn't mean that we give them what we would want in that circumstance, because they would surely, without a doubt, want the same thing we want. Okay. Yeah. How do we know that? Yeah. Somebody walks in the room. Yeah. Yeah. In Chinese, you don't say, how are you? You say, have you eaten? Yeah. It means, how are you? But have you eaten? I care about your stomach. Yeah. Because if you haven't eaten, you're hungry and you're suffering. Yeah. And I can't control everything, but I'll feed you. So that's nice. Yeah. But that wish is nice, as long as if they say, well, in Chinese, you just say yes, whether you're hungry or not. Yeah. In the same way, when people say, how are you? You say fine, whether you are or not. Okay. But, let's say you ask somebody, have you eaten? And they, you don't get an answer. You don't know. Like, have they eaten or haven't they eaten? Do I feed them or not? But for sure, I've got to feed them. I'm a Chinese mother. I'm a Jewish mother. Yeah. I don't know. Do Protestant mothers do this? No. Only what? Mothers too. And Tibetan mothers, yes. Southern mothers? Anyway, no, your mother didn't do that. Okay, so we have an exception to the rule then. Yeah. But, if we have the attitude of, well, I'm going to feed you whether you want to be fed or not, yeah, then that's assuming that, that they're suffering and I am the great savior and I'm going to feed them and they better be hungry and eat. Otherwise, I'm a failure. Yeah. If I'm not saving them, if I'm not pleasing them because actually they're full already, what's wrong with me? So we get into that. Always self-referenced, isn't it? Yeah. I offered them these noodles and broccoli, and they said no. Oh, I wanted to please them, and now they must remember how 5 years ago, I burnt this or undercooked that or whatever it is. Always we bring it back to me in a negative way. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So compassion does not mean being a people pleaser. Yeah. How to drive yourself and others crazy. Yeah. But it is part of some cultures. When I went to Tibet, and everywhere you go, and you're mostly in people's homes because there wasn't hotels around, so you're in people's homes. And, do you want tea? I mean, they come out with a thermos of Tibetan tea, right? Yeah. Very rich, lots of butter, lots of milk, because there's a special thermos for the guests. Yeah. So they come out with that thermos and they start to pour it into your cup. And no offense, but I can't stand Tibetan tea. It tastes bad and it's unhealthy. Too much salt, too much butter. Okay, really, very bad for your health if you're living here. If you're living in Tibet, maybe okay. But even when I was in Tibet, I can't stand the taste of it, okay? And I would say, oh, no. And they would start pouring anyway. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, you got to drink some. It was worse than a Jewish mother. A Jewish mother, after, 10 no's, they stop. A Tibetan mother, you're going to drink some tea no matter what. Yeah. Just so kind. And that's the culture, that's the culture. So I'm not talking about, it's a people, a culture that pleases people and, giving them tea is the way to do it. Okay, in our culture, there's other things. Yeah. But to really think, what does it mean to alleviate the suffering of somebody? And you really have to know somebody very well. And even then you could be wrong because people are not always consistent, And so here, this is where it's important to develop wisdom and to develop skillful means and to develop a sensitivity to what others' experience could be so that maybe they don't want hot tea, but they would love a bucket of hot water to soak their feet in, or whatever it is, okay? So benefiting others and to really think, what does that mean? Yeah. Okay. And then, why do we need to attain full awakening? Because only then will our mind be free of the obscurations that prevent us from knowing what's actually going on in another living being and what their karma is and their inclinations and their likes and their dislikes. Yeah. So if we really want to help them, we have to become enlightened. Otherwise, you're just going around with your thermos of tea. Yeah. Or, you're going around with your Pepsis. In America, what do? They give you a Pepsi or a Coke, neither of which I can stand. I'm a little picky. But just because all these things aren't good for you, and who wants to make your diet something that's not good for you? Oh, now I have a good opportunity. I could go into the kitchen again and talk about diet, which I'll spare you because we've ran out of time. But yeah, but to really think, what does it mean? Why do I need to become a Buddha? I'm a people pleaser already. I can help people enough. Well, people pleaser. I mean, Buddha means people pleaser in chief. Yeah. Oh, which is another word. You're not allowed to say the word chief anymore because that's also racist. Yeah. So you can't use that word anymore. Yeah. I think they eventually disbanded this project at Stanford, but it was an interesting idea. Yeah.
You can't say blind.
What?
You can't say blind.
Oh, yeah, you can't say blind. You can't say deaf. You shouldn't call anybody an idiot. Yeah. Or a moron.
Because of precious human rebirth, you can't be deaf, blind, or mute. We changed that. We did a whole cleanup of your website of blind, deaf, mute.
Good. Because, see, this is the thing. When I first heard the teachings, okay, I'm repeating what my teacher said, and it makes sense what my teacher said. But then the students started saying, but there's glasses and there's hearing aids. So why is this a handicap? You can get a cochlear implant, and so being deaf isn't going to be a handicap anymore. You can get glasses. Yeah. And so you have to really rethink it. What do those conditions really mean?
But we had a hard time with what do you do with terms like blind faith? The person the volunteer helping with this wrote to me and said, it's still considered you're using the word blind as a pejorative term. I know. Yeah, I know. So yeah, it's how far do you go?
Yeah, right? How far you were. It's like playing baseball in Wrigley Meadow. You can't say blind faith anymore. What?
Teachings fall on deaf ears. Right?
Yeah, you can't say it's falling on deaf ears. Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, we have our own little vocabulary that people should know that we know that you don't use those words around me. Yeah. Like, you don't know how to cook noodles. Oh, I'm wounded. Noodle, we shouldn't say noodle because do you remember when you were little and somebody was thinking silly, you'd say, do you have noodles in your head? No, I heard that once or twice. So, yeah. No, you didn't. I'd heard it once or twice. So, yeah, so then everything becomes, yeah, I'm getting the hint. Okay, so we'll stop here. That was like drinking a lot of Tibetan tea, you're saying. She goes on and on and on. Okay. But think about some of these things. Is that okay to say?